Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Panerai Radiomir Black Seal Composite PAM 505. This is a Panerai Radiomir with what I feel might be the best fusion of past and present and future elements that really define the Panerai brand. It's kind of a best of past, present, and future rolled into one awesome, highly wearable sports watch. Now I'm going to start out with the wrist impression. As you can see, on the wrist, the watch wears fantastically. Now my wrist, for reference, is 6 1/3 inches. That's 16 centimeters for our metric friends back in Italy and Switzerland. Buongiorno. The bottom line is that this watch sits very close to the wrist, and although it is an automatic, it does have a date, and it is a fairly deluxe, rough and ready sports reference. It actually sits quite flat, and a big part of that is the 1940 case. It has a gorgeous compound curvature to it, and it has a relatively flat profile with plenty of tumble home. So, although I'm not sure I would classify this as a dress-compatible watch, it's definitely a sleeve-compatible watch. So if you want to wear this one with business attire, over a long sleeve, with a winter coat, it's definitely good to go. And I would say that with the combination of subdued tones and natural leather, untreated, this might be viable as a dress reference, if any Panerai is. The 505 is a good candidate. Now let me just talk a little bit about the mass of it, because on the wrist you can see it fits well on a smaller wrist, but how does it feel? And I can tell you, it feels like it's not there, and that's the key to this watch. It is the third and most deluxe of the so-called composite watches from Panerai. Now the first was the PAM 339 of 2010, and that watch debuted the essential material, which is the heart and soul of the PAM 505. Basically, there are two types of watch cases in circulation today. There are the metallic cases and there are the ceramic cases. Now, ceramic's great because it's virtually as hard as a sapphire crystal, almost impossible to scratch. Really, only diamond can reliably scratch or scuff it or mar it in any way. Now, the nice thing about it is, short of testing it to destruction, it's almost completely indelible. The problem is, beyond that point, it's kind of like a light bulb. It's either broke or it's not. And that's where metal kind of gets the leg up over ceramic, because metal is more inclined to scratch or gouge or dent than crack and fracture. What Panerai did with the 339 and continues with the 505 Radiomir Black Seal Composite is the process of taking a piece of aluminum, which is one of the root elements of most modern case ceramics, and they take that piece of aluminum and they start transforming it into ceramic at sort of a topical surface level. The outer layer is transformed into a ceramic material, leaving the metallic core intact. So you have that same scratch-proof or scratch-resistant, and I mean really, really scratch-resistant, outer surface treatment that you get with ceramic. And this one will laugh off just about anything that a ceramic case will, but the advantage is it can't crack straight through like ceramic can. So a lot of times, this watch could take a sharp knock, and the mark, in most cases, can be taken off with a pencil eraser, because it's darn hard to scratch this. It's more likely to take a chunk out of whatever it hits. But the underlying core, the backing to it, remains metal, so it's not going to crack straight through. The surface takes the knock, and the core absorbs the blow. It's really the best of both worlds. And I'm going to say it's almost the best of three worlds, because you have hardness, you have that underlying durability, but because it's still mostly an aluminum watch, you get that remarkable lightness on the wrist. It's very wieldy. It feels like a watch that's maybe 2/3 this size. I can tell you that my old Omega Seamaster Professional on a bracelet felt a lot bigger and heavier than this huge PAM 505 Radiomir. Now you see the size of it, you see the legibility of it, you see the unmistakable Panerai Radiomir profile, but the bottom line is, eyes closed, you would swear you were wearing an ultra-thin dress reference. It's got the look, it doesn't have the burden, but it's got a lot more going for it than materials innovation. I think that's the way forward for Panerai, but let's look back in history a little bit and talk about how this watch does justice to the history of its parent firm. Now, there is that Black Seal moniker in the name, and that's deliberate. Black Seal is a reference to the Italian frogmen of the Decima Flotilla MAS, kind of the forerunner of modern special forces, combat swimmers, underwater demolition, SEALs. And during World War II, they were particularly active in the Mediterranean. They actually gave the otherwise hapless Italian Navy some of its only victories over the British. But the bottom line is the Black Seal was sort of a nickname for the swimmers and their Soloro Lanto Corsa manned torpedo that they would ride into a harbor submerged using rebreathers, plant on the bottom of a battleship, or two in the case of the raid on Alexandria, and then hopefully escape. But the bottom line is these daredevils, often known as the Black Seals, lend their name to this PAM 505 Radiomir Black Seal composite. And it's that history of the company that really informs the rest of the design. In addition to the name, you can see this really iconic Panerai Luminor Radiomir sandwich dial. Now, regardless of which model, whether it's the Luminor or the Radiomir, the idea of the sandwich dial is one of the major stylistic calling cards of the company, and it has been since the 1990s. When the company first joined the civilian sector, the sandwich dial was established very quickly, something that's true to history and continues to be striking in person because you have this outer stencil that goes up and over a loomed disc, a whole loomed disc, to add this 3D effect as the loom shines up through the stencil. The stencil features the numerals, it features the indexes, and even on the small seconds at 9 o'clock, you can see these 4 little corner cutouts for the stencil itself. So there's a great degree of complexity, and because you see the loom shining up through the walls of the stencil, it has a 3-dimensional depth to it at night. Not only is it very bright, but it's got a unique look to it that comes from the fact that it is a 2-piece dial. You also get what's known as the dirty dial. Another reference to history, dirty dial is kind of our what you want original phrase for a simulated radium or tritium patina that nevertheless glows because it's made of a special colored luminova. Glows like a modern watch, looks like a vintage watch, and again, because it's not really radium, you don't have that danger of it flaking off inside the watch and creating a hazard to the movement, and then if it's opened, a hazard to the watchmaker. It's also got a tremendous amount of stylistic continuity from this historically faithful Assolutamente strap in natural calf skin. You can see that it's untreated. All the original pockmarks and scuffs and scars of the animal are left untreated. It's a very natural look that's true to history because the original Panerai combat swimmers used a waxed calfskin strap. The patinaed stitch has that same ecru colored look as the dial loom, again to create the look of age. As a beautiful rich chocolate colored composite case, it kind of plays halfway between black and chocolate, and it matches a tobacco colored dial with black oxidized hands. It's a very cohesive aesthetic that's deep, dark, and compelling. We have a 100% complete set with this PAM 505 Radiomir Black Seal composite, automatic Panerai in-house P9000 movement, free sprung, very robust. This is Panerai through and through. Their own movement, their own case, their own unique strap look, an aesthetic and a history with materials innovations that are all their own. As I said at the beginning, this really is the best of Panerai's past, present, and future. And this PAM 505 Radiomir Black Seal composite with all factory accessories might be part of your future. Check it out on our website, What You Want. And I have a feeling, if you're into history, if you're into tech, if you like the combat diver look, but just a little bit more upscale than usual, this Panerai Radiomir Black Seal PAM 505 composite may be just the watch you want.